good afternoon. I'm back. We're going to do another update tour. A lot has changed, actually surprisingly, in only like a month. I want to show you guys what's going on. So I've been so impressed with these flowers. I thought we'd start with them first. These are some of my calendulas and I'm going to check the variety. So this is my garden journal and I use it so I remember what is planted where all the time. And so that's the other bed. So in this bed here, so that's an orange flash calendula. I know I've got two different kinds of calendulas in my garden beds this season. One is orange flash, which is this one. And the other one that I have is orange porcupine, but I don't think I have any of those open yet. It's just the orange flash, but I just can't get over how pretty that looks. It's kind of like nearly like a salmony orange, but really light around the edges, but it looks kind of flashy at the start before it opens up. And there's another one down here that's the same variety. But as you can see, this bed is like very filled up at the moment. We've got Dino kale here, which I've been harvesting a lot of our kale. The easiest way I've found to like save time on having fresh kale in the fridge ready to use is I will pick a bunch of these outside leaves, take it inside, cut it up a little bit and store it in a airtight container in the fridge with just a bit of slightly damp paper towel, and it seems to last pretty well that way, so that's how I do it. And this one here is Dazzling blue kale. There's two there, and this is the Dazzling, no, it's my red Russian kale. So that's the Dazzling blue and this is red Russian kale. In between that's our planting of watermelon radishes. They are also in here, they're like a racetrack, sort of like that. And I have four plants of purple sprouting broccoli in here. They are still on their way growing. I think this variety, the broccoli kind of grows from the little armpits there. I've never grown a lot of these varieties before, so I'm gonna see how we go with that. And then down here, so it's a bit hard to see because the leaves are massive. Like, look at that, that's huge. This one here and that one, there's just three of them. They are purple cauliflower. They're Sicily purple, I believe. And then I have 3 Broccolini plants that I just got from Bunnings. So it's this one here. It's already got a small head, and I actually harvested some of these for lunch. So they've got little broccolinis popping through there. So I've harvested the heads of the other 2 that I've got growing, and now I'll be able to collect the side shoots, but I haven't collected the head of that one yet. And then there are the 7 Snowball Cauliflowers. I'm not sure how these are going to work out. They've got really long leaves. But I'm not sure if they're really tall just because they're trying to get light, because they might be struggling a little bit in here because there's so much planted in here. And I do have this mesh cover on all the time, except for when I'm needing to get in there and do some maintenance or for the tours to show you guys what's going on. So we'll just see how they go. Yeah, I've never grown them before, give it a crack. And then still got some of the little beetroot seedlings. So this was kind of a fail on my part, I think, because I wanted to try and have something growing between these big brassicas before the brassicas took up too much room. But by the time I planted these, the brassicas were so big, because I was going to use these as like little salad greens. So maybe once the brassicas are finished, I'll still have the greens there. They're actually pretty good down here in this little spot. Got some nice beetroot leaves we can use for salads. And also tucked in here, that's a chamomile and a poppy. On the other side, there's another chamomile popping up here. This again, it's some of the golden beetroot. There is a giant Duo Pansy there. I think it's just a mix. It's not necessarily the variety, because the other ones that came with the mix were purple with white on the inside, so I think it might be different. And then I've got some more red Russian Kale down here and some more Dino Kale. So these are getting pretty big, so I'll probably harvest them soon, just so I can put them into the fridge ready for easy use. Then onto this bed here, there's the beautiful Nasturtium that I let reseed. I wasn't sure how it was going to do in winter, but it seems to be loving it, and it has started blooming. So I believe this one is Orchid Cream. I feel like the flowers are more yellow than last time, maybe, but it's still really beautiful, and I like having it curling up the trellis like that. And then there's a little gem lettuce in here, my red Express cabbages, which are chugging along. My son had pulled out the red cabbage down here again, so this is replanted, and I don't actually know the variety of this one because I didn't put a label on it. I think it is another Snowball Cauliflower, but I'm not 100% sure. But I had a little bit of space for it, and otherwise it was just not gonna get used, so I thought I'd just plug it in. Then these are the Munchkin cabbages. There's 4 there, and some more watermelon radishes in there. They're still pretty small at the moment, so we'll see how they go. And this is another poppy. They've all reseeded from seeds that I threw in from my poppy plant that I grew last season, which was a Californian poppy, a frilled rose, I believe. And then I've got some dill, because I also had some dill that went to seed, and I just sprinkled seeds everywhere, hoping some will come up, and they have. And these ones here are Swedes, or some people call them rutabagas. There's a moth. Hello. And so I'd never grown them before. This is the one that's the biggest. I didn't have super great success. I've pulled out some that seem to be struggling a bit. A lot of the rest of them are also struggling a bit, getting a lot of aphids. I did see a couple of lady beetles up here, but they have not been around for a long while, so I don't know if maybe it's too cold for them now, so we'll just see how they go. I do break off the lower leaves to try and just let more sunlight in, and also they were getting pretty eaten on. Some more aphids. This is another little gem lettuce. This is a calendula. They had a bunch of calendulas left over that I just popped in and didn't write down what they were, and I'm regretting that now. This one is an extra purple sprouting broccoli that I had, and I just popped that in today actually. And these are some red bunching onions that I actually grew last season, and I dried them to save to actually eat in the kitchen, but we didn't use them all, and so I just planted them back out again, and now I think they're starting to grow. That's grass. And then I've also planted some, I think it's King Richard, they were just bought ones, some King Richard leeks. And there was 6 in a pack, so I've just left them all planted together. There's another dill that I replanted. And then here I've got 4 Brussel sprouts and a purple Deliciosa Kohlrabi in the middle. This Kohlrabi has been doing the best so far out of the rest of them. It does have aphids on it. I've been spraying the aphids off with water to try and help control them without spraying anything, because my son's out here a lot and I don't really want to use a lot of sprays unless I need to. Even though you can see this is one of the green varieties, they've been pretty eaten on by slugs and aphids. I'm more happy to just try and see how I go with simpler methods. This is more like enjoyment for me and learning, so at the moment I'm not too worried about using sprays to try and protect my food. I'd like to try and do it as natural or as organic as possible. And these Brussels sprouts are starting to form. So the stems grow and then the Brussels sprouts go in there. So I've been picking off the bottom leaves as they touch the ground so that the slugs are less likely to munch on them. And they're doing all right. We'll see how we go. These again are the green kohlrabis. Just growing them this season to see how they grow, what they look like and what they taste like. You can see the purple ones were hit pretty bad. I've cleared up this area a fair bit. Last time I had a lot of radishes growing throughout and it was getting pretty crowded. And so I've harvested all the radishes I had that were ready. And I've also actually pulled out a bunch of perpetual spinach, pulled out this big chunk here just to let in a bit more light. And also this comes back like aggressively with a passion. And I like that actually because it means that I've got fresh spinach readily available because I like using it in baking and quiches and things like that. But I don't think I needed as much as was growing there. That is fine for me to keep picking off every now and then. And so this calendula could have a little bit more light. I thought that would be nice. Just sort of clear up the area a bit. On the back rows, you can see my pea trellises are all empty. I'll show you what they looked like earlier in the day. So here are the pea rows from this morning. I haven't cut these ones back. I'm about to do it hopefully today. I have cut back this one. You can see it's really dried up. I'm going to take them all down and give to my brother so he can use it for his compost heap because I don't have a big one here, but he does. And then I'm hoping to replant both of these rows with a fresh set of peas to see if we can get another round of sugar snap peas in before it starts to warm up again. So because the other ones had kind of petered out, I wanted to try and chuck in another set to see if we could get another round of sugar snap peas. I do have issues with currawongs, some birds we have here in Australia. They come and like dig up the mulch to get the grubs in the soil. So you can see how like all of this mulch is now across the bed. They come in and dig it up and disturb it. It shouldn't matter for the peas, but it's kind of annoying when you've got small seedlings already coming up in the ground. Sometimes they can dislodge a whole seedling, pull it out of the ground. So just have to keep an eye on that when the peas do start to come up. And again, the same down here. So that bed and this one, that bed on the right and this one here, they are the sugar snap peas again, except at this trellis from here to the end, I've planted a telephone pea. So I'm not 100% sure if that's like a snap pea, like if the casing is nice to eat, the pod. But it says it's supposed to be tender and crisp, so we'll just see. Thought I'd just grow something different for a change. I have wanted to see how the telephone pea grows, so I thought I would give it a go. And then these are the pansies I put in ages ago. I'm hoping now that they will have a bit more sunlight, they will be able to get a better head start. And there's an extra dill that just self-seeded from seeds I chucked in here. So I thought I would maybe let it have its spot there too. And so in the pots down the end here, this is a Snowball Cauliflower in a pot and some blue Scotch curled kale, which I quite like this one. The only thing that can be tricky with this one sometimes is that because of its like frilly leaves, aphids can be a little bit hidden in there. So when you're picking it to go and eat, just like have a good look and give it a good wash to make sure you don't have anything extra in with your kale, unless you don't mind that. So, and here's my just lettuce mix. So the red one is Lolo Rosso and the other was just a mignonette mix. I don't know those varieties. I've just trimmed it down today. So what you can do to keep your lettuce harvest going without just waiting for it to come to a head is to just pick the outer leaves This is picking the outer leaves, so you just sort of go in and pull it from down the bottom like that. And you can keep doing that and just harvest like every maybe half a week to a week. And then you can just have continuous lettuce leaves to have for salad throughout the winter, instead of just waiting for one whole lettuce and then cutting it off. Then I've got one of my poppies next to it. Still not 100% certain of the variety. I'm pretty sure it's a frilled rose. It's a tomato seedling I just pulled out. And in this pot I actually got some ginger from a friend of mine, and I've just planted that in there today, which will be pretty neat. And in this one is another purple sprouting broccoli, just to see how it goes. Sometimes I struggle a bit with container growing and just being able to let them have or get enough nutrients to them. So we'll see how we go with that one. The pansies are looking really beautiful. This is the other one from the giant Duo mix, and then the one at the back there, which is really pretty, that's blackberry. I just added some more mushroom compost to my strawberries this morning. This is another calendula. Can you see how much smaller this one is? This one was planted, this is an orange porcupine. This one was planted before that one and before the other ones in that bed. And even though I've amended it with some compost there, it's just kind of struggling. So yeah, I don't know. More learning for me, I think. And this is my purple asparagus, still just ferning up. And some more dazzling blue kale. A lot of these ones through here I don't mind if they get picked at, because for me these are more plants that my son can pick at and eat and explore, so I can't be too precious with them. Here's just some more little gem lettuce and a scarlet kale. It looks actually very similar to the dazzling blue, but it has the wrinkliness of the curled Scotch kale, which is kind of interesting. It's still really small, so, and it's the only one that I've got, so I'm gonna have to baby it a little bit before I can try some. Still got some extra variegated mint, regular mint. It'll bounce back, and this is the two of them in the same one. I might cut this back soon because I haven't been using a whole lot of it. I plan to use a lot more in summer, and mint is like super resilient, so it'll be fine to have a big cut back. Also, in case you were wondering what I use to tie up my mesh with, I just have these from the cheap store. They're just like these little disposable plastic little clampy things, because they can be very expensive from a hardware store. I have small ones. I have small ones for the sides, and then 4 big ones for the ends. They work really well just to have something to secure it in place. Also, for you guys that are growing in Australia, especially Queensland, Australia, it's time to think about starting your seeds for spring. I have a journal, a garden journal, which I highly recommend doing. I find it really helpful to plan out things and get excited about the things I'll be growing. And so I make a list of all the things I want to grow, make sure I have the seeds for it, and then work out the spacing for it. And I just want to show you the tomatoes that I'm planning on starting for this spring. And I'll be starting them about the start to mid-July to give them like a month and a half before I want to plant them out into the garden. So the ones I'll be growing is one of my favorites, which is Dr. Witch's yellow tomato. I've grown this before and I really like it. It's a yellow tomato, and so it's slightly sweeter than like a red tomato, or especially black tomatoes are more smoky. Sometimes I don't like them as much, but I reckon with a bit of salt they'd be really good. But yes, I'm trying to grow a colourful mix this year because I think it just looks pretty, and then the flavour profile would be kind of neat if you had them like all on a sandwich or in the same dish or something. So Dr. Witch's yellow, highly recommend. Very hard to get these seeds. If you're in somewhere other than Australia or New Zealand, you can get them from America. I have saved my own seeds for these, so I am good for now. That's the only yellow big slicer tomato I'll be growing. A slicer tomato is just one that's really big and round, so you can like cut it into slices and put it on like toast or bread or whatever you want for like a sandwich. And then I'm growing 2 darker tomato varieties because previously I haven't really liked the dark cherry tomato, but I want to try the dark tomatoes again. So I'm going to try Paul Robeson, which I've heard is actually a really nice tasting tomato. I don't have a picture of it, but I've got this one from Southern Harvest Seeds. And it says it's a dark beefsteak and has an earthy, smoky flavour with a good acid sweet balance. I'm also going to try Black Crim, which I should be able to get in a lot of places. I'm also going to try another one that I got from America, which I think you possibly can get these seeds in other places, and it's a triple crop tomato. I've grown this one before as well and I quite liked it. It's just a nice big red tomato. Tastes way better, way different to your supermarket red tomatoes, so I'm growing this one again. And I'm also going to grow, it's not a red tomato, but it's a pink tomato. It's a Brandywine pink. I've grown this one before and really liked it, so I'm going to have that one too. And then I'm going to grow more cherries than what I normally would because our son really likes tomatoes, and it's kind of the easiest way for him to have them is to grow cherries and kind of like quarter them up. So I'm going to try Barry's Crazy Cherry. I'm going to give that a go. So it apparently it tastes better than tomato, so we'll see how that goes. And I'm also growing a red cherry, I don't know the variety, from my Pop's garden, sort of in memory of him because he's no longer with us, and we really liked those tomatoes that were grown there, so I'm going to do some of those. And I'm also going to try for the first time Sun Gold cherry tomatoes. It's an F1 hybrid, which means you can't save the seeds from these ones, you have to buy them again, but I've heard that it tastes really, really good, so I'm going to try this one. And the last one I'm going to be growing is a tomato called Tiny Tim, and it's like a little dwarf tomato. It only gets to about 30 centimeters high, so I've told. And so I'm going to grow that one because that would be kind of neat to do in like a little pot or container or something. So yeah, that's what I'm growing in regards to tomatoes in spring. Let me know what you're hoping to grow and if you've got like any favorite tomatoes, because I would really like to know what you like and if you've got any that I should try. So pretty short today, but that's what the garden is looking like on the 9th of June. I hope you enjoyed the update, and I'll see you guys soon.